Okay, what's going on, everybody? I think we are live.
Woo!
Welcome to Atticus Live. Wow, Desiree. Nice to have you on the show again.
Thanks.
This is great.
I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, this is good. So, guys, this is Desiree. She'll be with us today. And,
Hopefully longer than just today.
Yeah, she'll be around for a little while.
Now that you got a new boat, you're kicking me out?
Yeah, no, there's no kicking Desiree
here,
out.
Buddy.
There's no kick. Okay, so, guys, thank you so much for coming. We've got Henry Chavez, Big Don Ron, Arizona, Bonnie Lynn, Frank Hyatt, Sal Petito, Alex White, Carlos Berlanga.
My window closed.
Okay, Darren. We've got Brian Grennan, Plumbing All Day, Joe Prange Sailing, Chris Bickerman, SV Tabula Rasa, Robert Flindle, Martin Paquete, Carl Moorish. Sorry, Carl. Brad Kerpjuwait. Okay. Lance Tenjed. Caleb Lee. Wild as the Wind Sailing.
I'm ready.
All right, we got some more.
Coach Tracy, Noah Ramos, Mike and Ike, I think. Doug Higgins. Ooh, Ronald Brown, Steve Christians. It's like playing that Guitar Hero. I can't even remember.
Yeah, come on, get on it, get on it.
First Chance or Choice Sailing, Fritz Piat, Blair Roten. Wow, thank you guys. This is so exciting.
Cool. So today is like a super exciting day. As I'm sure a lot of you guys know, today we're going to be revealing which boat we're going to choose for Atticus II. And we're going to give people a little bit of time to join the stream. So we'll take about 5 minutes or so before we do the big reveal. And if you guys are new to Atticus Live, if you've never been to one of our live streams before, welcome. Basically, if you have any questions, comments, just shoot them at us. We're going to do our best to get to everybody, but it's definitely hard. You know, it's a challenge. So.
And if we don't get to your question, just ask it a couple of times. We've got Dave here tonight who's going to be moderating, and he'll find those extra interesting questions and send them my way. So just post them a lot if you think we're missing you.
Okay, cool. So, do a couple more shout-outs, and we'll jump in. So we got Barbara Provost, Akathe Squid, Melanie Harms, Henry Chavez, let's see, Todd Dupler,
LD Love,
Sienna Vlogs, Amanda Lockwood,
Jenny Vargas, Remac. Oh, it's so fast.
Here,
Dave
just
Carter.
Stop it. Do that.
No, buddy, no.
Okay.
Doug Helton. Alex Jorman, I always pronounce your name wrong. Sorry. Heather Lockwood Clark. Sienna Vlogs again. This is awesome. Cool. So we thought we'd start today with some kind of higher level discussion about some lessons that we learned throughout the boat buying process, just to give people a chance to hop online so that everyone's here for the big reveal.
Grab your popcorn, salt and butter it, you know. None of this like spicy stuff. What else do people put on popcorn?
I like pepper and garlic.
I'm a purist.
Yeah.
I'm a purist. There's only two things you put on popcorn.
Yeah, butter and salt.
Butter and salt.
Okay.
What do you guys put on your popcorn while we're waiting?
Yeah.
Waiting for everyone to take their seats. Are you with me, or are you with like the whole crazy
frou-frou
popcorn thing? All right.
Okay, so we want to talk first about some lessons that we learned about the boat buying process. I'll start off. One of the biggest lessons that I learned was that in a listing, in photos, and even in videos, it is really difficult to tell the actual condition of a boat until you go there in person. We film for a living, so we could make like a pile of poop look kind of glamorous in the right lighting.
In fact, I feel like we do it all the time with our episodes. Sometimes I'm sitting there looking at the footage like, we have a pile of crap that we need to turn into a video.
And so, I would say that's a big lesson I learned. So just going by the listing photos and even videos, it's not super reliable. In fact, before we came to the United States, we had a patron of ours ask us look at a boat listing in Panama at the boatyard we were staying at. And my jaw fell to the floor because the pictures on the website were gorgeous, and it was like fully fleshed out and like this charter boat. And we got there and it was like falling apart. So really, if you can go and see as many boats as possible, I would definitely recommend that, and not trust the photos, really.
Yeah, and I think, in fact, we didn't even write this down, but another lesson that I really learned was, and we've got some experience with old boats with problems, right? Like, we have a good amount of experience, not a ton, but a good amount. And I was overwhelmed by the fact that I wasn't able to really get a good sense with all the boats of what kind of condition they're in, right? Because a lot of the problems, it kind of dawned on me one day that a lot of problems with boats are really hard to find, and you're probably not even going to find them for like the first couple months of owning a boat. And so I kind of had this panic attack where I was like, well, how do I know if a boat's in good condition or not? And we sort of realized that, well, all you can really do is see what you can see and like sample data and kind of see if, like, what's this area look like? Like, is it dirty under the sink? Is the varnish starting to rub off? You know, is the varnish starting to burn away under the port lights? Is there any water damage whatsoever? Because all you can really do is look at these little bits of information and get a guesstimate of, okay, have these people really kept this boat up? Or can you see areas where they've kind of like neglected to keep the boat up?
And I would say I learned this from the couple that owns the Caliber 40 LRC. If you can kind of choose the owner of if you can choose your boat based on the previous owner, that's something I never thought about. But we met that couple, and she was varnishing the floorboards by hand, and she just was so meticulous and was just so, she had such a great attention to detail, and she knew her boat so well. And that was really telling, because you could tell that they loved their boat. If there was anything broken or damaged, they fixed it right away. Whereas other boats that were kind of in worse condition, like maybe the GPS went out a year ago and they never really fixed it. And then maybe the water makers, needs a new membrane, but it's like on its way out. And even though, you can put money and time into fixing those things, if your priority is finding a boat in really good condition, finding owners that really prioritize like keeping their boat in tip-top condition, I think is really important.
Yeah, totally. I'm just going to take a quick second here to try to increase the volume. We're getting some people saying that
too loud?
The volume is too low, actually.
Oh.
And so I'm not entirely sure what's going on with that. Let me just, oh boy, do I unplug it and plug it back in?
Uh-oh.
Anyway, we will try to be louder.
Not very hard for you.
I know, right? Yeah. I can see that, it sounds silly, but try turning the volume up. I can see that it's not super loud, and I'm not quite sure how to fix it.
Okay.
So we'll see if the problem fixes itself. So
I'll say,
for people who have just joined, by the way, we are going to be revealing which boat is going to be Atticus II here in just a couple minutes, and we're going through kind of the lessons that we learned from the boat buying process. It won't take long. It'll just be a couple minutes. But thank you for joining.
Yeah. Do you want to go over your next lesson?
Yeah. So and guys, let me know if the volume is okay or not. I'm getting some people saying it's doable.
And also,
so thanks, guys.
And also, for those of you out there who have been through the boat buying process and you have any lessons that you learned, please let us know what the top things you learned from the boat buying process were as well.
Yeah. So okay, the next thing that I really learned is that, in our situation, we really want to get back into making cruising related content and get right back into sailing. And so we had a relatively short window to find Atticus II. And I think that was a pretty major disadvantage. It's less than ideal, I'll say that. And because I feel like the best way to buy like a great cruising boat, similar to buying a home, I'm sure, is really being in the market for a long time. So have the money ready and just be ready to pull the trigger, but wait and wait and wait. You know what I mean? Like, obviously there's a point where you don't want to pass up the boat, but I think that being in the market for a long time is super valuable.
And I would say while you're waiting, also try to see as many boats as possible. And then if you kind of narrow down what kind of model of boat that you'd like, like in our case, the PS40 or the Valiant 42. See if you have any friends that have that boat that you can hop on a sail with them. See if you can join there's lots of Facebook owners groups, and ask the current owners questions about what to look for while you go look at these boats, and see if maybe you can hop on a sail with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. And so, yeah, and it's kind of interesting because right now in the whole post-COVID world, the boating market has just exploded. And basically, I feel like all the good boats have just sold, in the last couple months. And that's mostly because I think that people have a renewed interest in being able to get off grid, being able to kind of leave civilization behind when they want to, as well as they don't want to delay their dreams anymore, with a lot of uncertainty. So that's been kind of a less than ideal thing for us in this time, is that so here we are, it's a seller's market, and we're kind of forced to get into it. Now, it's not a big deal. We came up with a boat that we're very, very happy with, but the lesson learned is if you can, be in the market, be ready to pull that trigger, and be in it for a while and really educate yourself and learn throughout that process.
I'm going to do a couple of thank yous, and then we could do the big reveal.
Okay. All right.
So Michael and Helen Davis says, please, please, please choose the Valiant 42. Thank you, Chris Edith. Thank you, Jeffrey Miller. Thank you, Tor Fredericks. Thank you, Katie Criddle White. Thank you, Sal Petito. Petito. Thank you, Gib. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Canuck 55551. Thank you, David Daly. Nice to see your name up there today. Thank you, Timothy Simmons. Thank you, Alan Gamble. Thank you, Marjorie Hale. And Ethan Stevenson, Joanne Peaton, Frank Fuzzlier. Oh, boy. Moneysuckle, Brad Scott. Hey, Brad. Speaking of Brad Scott, one of our drinking words today will be patron.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. So that's a great point. That's a good segue. So if you guys are new to Project Atticus Live, we always have drinking words. So if you don't have to do it. You do not have to drink. In fact, if you're under 21, I think I'm legally obligated to tell you that it's illegal for. Well, no, that's not true. You can drink in your home. We shouldn't go there. So totally optional drinking words. We always have extrusion because it's kind of a long story. So if we ever say extrusion, you should drink. So for everyone that's been waiting, that's your first one. Go for it.
Extrusion and patron.
Patron.
And we decided that the third drinking word should be the name of the model of the boat that we decided on.
So now is the big moment. This is it. This is the boat that we have decided on for Atticus II. Do you want to say what it is, bud?
It is the Pacific Seacraft 40!
Oh my god! Okay.
Yeah. Oh, it feels good to get that off my chest, man.
So anyway, thanks for showing up, guys. This was great.
See ya.
We'll see you guys next week. No. So yeah, we decided on the Pacific Seacraft 40. And before you guys get upset at me because that was my choice, let's have Desiree kind of explain why it is that we arrived at that.
Yeah, I think
decision.
both boats had compromises in different areas, but they both kind of had the same number of compromises. And when it came down to it, the price was just, the Pacific Seacraft 40 was the way smarter option for us. So we can buy the boat, we can outfit it pretty much right away without, really being strapped for cash. And yeah, that's basically it. I mean, also something that I didn't realize until after I was watching Delos's video about, and Ron Sailing's video about the cockpit, is that the Pacific Seacraft 40, it actually has like a really cool kind of protected and deep cockpit, whereas the Valiant 42's cockpit, we went sailing on it with some friends, and I was kind of like slipping and sliding everywhere, and it's kind of very open.
It was just a little more open.
Yeah. So that combined with like the fact that the main salon in the Pacific Seacraft 40 is so conducive to family and kids, really kind of pushed us over the edge. And we had a really sweet couple send us photos of them and their 3 kids enjoying the Pacific Seacraft 40. So they sent us a picture of the little baby in the sink, and then 3 of the kids at the nav station all watching something on the iPad, and then the whole family with popcorn watching a movie on that drop down settee. And so that really made the decision for us. And and today we went to see the boat splash, and we've got a sea trial tomorrow, a survey tomorrow, and then a rig survey the following day.
So we are right now in Branford, Connecticut, and we're ready to pull the trigger. Yeah. So if everything goes well tomorrow, and then with the rig survey the next day, then that's going to be Atticus 2.0.
Yeah, and we really lucked out with weather. Connecticut really started warming up this last week, so this morning when we went to watch the boat splash, I can't even explain the feeling that I had. I'm sure you had it too. It was just like watching that boat just like gently drop into the water, like glistening in the sun. I was like, oh my God, this boat is insane. Can you imagine like teleporting from like 4 months ago and being like, this is going to be your boat?
Yeah,
I would be like,
it's hard to
you're
believe.
messing with me.
It's hard to believe. Yeah, and that's the thing, because remember, the Pacific Seacraft had the cover on it, and so it's really hard for us to do justice for the boat to show just how beautiful it is. But on top of that, we didn't really get to feel how beautiful it is. And so seeing it in like the sunlight on a nice blue sky day was like heart-stopping.
Yeah.
Like the thing is so pretty.
Yeah, I felt really unworthy.
Yeah. But I think that what you were saying earlier is something really worth touching on, which is with that money, remember the asking prices between the boats was about $30,000 different, and the Pacific Seacraft being cheaper. And with that money, with that money that we save, one of the things we'll do almost immediately is build like a hardtop bimini / solar array in the cockpit. And so basically that's going to give us like all the solar power that we'll need, and then it'll also give us a lot of protection from the elements in the cockpit, which like we talked about early on, that matters more to us than any particular model, really. Like if we can have really good protection in the cockpit,
that'd be so nice.
That's always there, because a lot of you guys who have been watching for a while, you knew that we had the sunshade for Atticus I, and that took me a lot of time to set up and break down. It'd take me about 45 minutes to set it up, and maybe a little less to break down, and that's like minimum.
And plus with canvas, it kind of loses its water resistance in the sun after like 5 years, and so towards the end it wasn't really good for water collection because the water was going through it. And then also, we used to be able to hang out in the cockpit without getting wet, but then you'd start getting some drips. So with a canvas cover, you really got to redo that every 5 years. Not to mention the sewing that bad boy up took me like a month. I mean, I was pretty crappy at sewing back then, but
so the point being that like that's going to be a huge game changer. Graybeard D asks Watermaker Radar. That's the other thing, is we'll be able to afford like a really good Watermaker. I've been looking at the Spectra Cape Horn series, and the thing I like about that, it's got redundant pumps, so like if one pump fails, you've got another one. The point being that with that money that we saved, I mean, we're going to be able to seriously outfit this boat. Whereas with the Valiant, that would have been a challenge for us financially. Like we could have done it, but we would have had to do it piecemeal and over time. Yeah. And so with this boat, we're going to try and just like bang out the outfitting stage and then get sailing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so I feel like that was like in the conversations that we had, probably the primary reason we chose the Pacific Seacraft, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely financial. I mean, the Valiant 42 is an amazing boat, but it was just a financial reach for us,
and in the way that it wasn't, we wouldn't be getting enough value for it. If that makes sense. Like it's not the worst thing in the world that it was more expensive, but it was the fact that it would be more expensive and we wouldn't get that much more from that boat. And so I think that if there's anything to be said about this decision that we had to make, it's that we really, like, both boats were so neck and neck to us, like in our minds, that we could kind of break the decision down to something like the value for the what you're getting for the money.
Another question from Graybeard D. From Greg Hoover. He says, "Have you sold your old boat?" That's a really good question. We've basically put selling Atticus I on the back burner until we've got everything sorted with buying Atticus II. So we've collected a bunch of email addresses of people who are interested in potentially buying Atticus. So I'm getting ready to reach out to them with like a full listing and some pictures and details about, you know, what to expect from Atticus. We had toyed with the idea of doing a raffle, which I would really like to do. But a friend of ours was saying that there's some really strict like auctioning and like raffling laws and rules, and so I don't know if we have time or the bandwidth to like really do it properly without being liable for some like big penalty. But if there's anyone out there who knows how to do a raffle on like a boat or a house or anything like that, please get in touch with us because I'd like to learn more about it. And then lastly, we have considered donating Atticus or giving it to like a sailing school or a cause or something like that. So those are the three options that we're dealing with, and we'll kind of figure out what works best once we basically buy Atticus II and have that sorted out. So yeah, our plan this week is to just focus on seeing if this is the boat for us. Yeah, and it feels pretty good.
Yeah, no, I think we're both just super stoked about the whole situation.
Yeah.
Real quick, so a lot of people are asking, like, what's the plan? Like, where are we off to next then?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and well, Gregory Wood is saying that he missed the choice. So for anybody who's just joined, we have chose the Pacific Seacraft 40. Yeah.
And that is also the drinking word. So
yeah.
Pacific Seacraft 40.
There you
Pacific
go.
Seacraft
if you guys
40.
Are playing,
Pacific Seacraft 40.
Go, go, go. You guys can do it. Okay, so yeah.
Excursion.
So what's our plan basically? And so right now the boat's in Brantford, Connecticut. Assuming everything goes well, assuming we follow through with the whole purchase, then we'll probably take the boat more or less immediately down to North Carolina. There's a really good chance that we're going to actually hire the Pacific Seacraft factory that's in North Carolina to build this hard top / solar panel setup. And I'm actually super stoked about this. Like, this isn't going to be some sort of like chintzy thing. Like, we are going all out with this bad boy. Like, I want it to match the curves of the boat, like, to because it's such a beautiful boat. Like, it would be an absolute sin to put some kind of an ugly hardtop on that thing. Like, you would go to sailor's hell for doing that for sure. You know what I mean? Like, it's just unforgivable.
Well, I mean, if you can't afford it,
you can't
slap anything on there.
No, don't do it.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're just gonna go all out with the design and with the features, right? Like, maybe it'll entail like water collection, definitely a lot of solar. We want to potentially put davits on the thing, so that'll be a fun project. So that'll be happening in North Carolina. And then along with probably installing the water maker and a handful of other projects. Mm-hmm. And then for the summer, because it's hurricane season and we don't want to head south during the summer, we'll probably end up heading north to Maine during the summer. We hear it's beautiful up there, mm-hmm. and it's a great way to get away from hurricanes and to get to see something different.
And to do some shakedown cruises.
Yeah. While we're like within like the vicinity of sea tow.
Yeah, exactly.
Although it's like my whole world is upside down now because like I keep thinking to myself, I'm so used to Atticus I where like anything could break down at any moment. I mean, I'm sure we'll have problems with this boat, but still, I'm just in my mind, I'm imagining a very different boat than this boat is. Yeah. Like, it's in such good condition that I think it's going to be pretty darn reliable.
Did you talk about going to Panama?
Well, okay, and then that would be the next thing is after spending the summer in Maine, then we would go to Panama.
Well, did you talk about flying to Panama, though?
Oh, well, okay, so then, yeah, while we're in North Carolina, we'll probably have to fly to Panama to get some of our stuff shipped up from Panama. So we've still got like my tools down there. Our dinghy, little shit too.
Maybe the monitor wind vane, or
we might ship the monitor wind vane up, and so yeah, that'll happen while we're in North Carolina. So yeah, and then after the summer, then we would head down to Panama with Atticus II, go through the canal, and hopefully go to the South Pacific next year, a year from now. We'll see if countries have opened up yet.
Mm-hmm.
If they have, then great, we'll go. If not, we'll have to figure out something else.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And then one kind of cool option or thing about us flying to Panama is that we could actually take off a lot of the little things on Atticus that would be nice to have on Atticus II, but wouldn't really be worth the expense of sending them to the United States. Is we could just fill up a container or fill up a room with a bunch of our stuff and then have it stored at Shelter Bay Marina waiting for us. That way when we bring Atticus II there, we could just put everything aboard. So that will be, I'm happy about that option as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, and then, shoot, and I apologize because I lost who said it, but somebody was asking, about the engine access.
Yeah, that was Peter Rahil or
Oh,
Rahil.
great. So yeah, Peter was asking about the engine access on the Pacific Seacraft 40, and that is one of the downsides of that boat, in my opinion. And it's interesting because in talking to Nigel Calder about the Pacific Seacraft, he was saying that he actually had them modify the engine compartment so that they cut little access panels out of the sides of the compartment. And so it sounds like that's not that hard of a thing to do. Mm-hmm. And so that's most likely what we will do.
And I think there are a couple of owners on the Pacific Seacraft 40 owners Facebook group who posted pictures about their projects of making access panels. So, and also the nice thing about going with Pacific Seacraft 40 is the Pacific Seacraft factory is still full on in business. And so they've got like specs and designs for, I'm sure, a lot of improvements that people have made over the years. So that'll be really exciting to have someone to call and just pester with a bunch of our questions, because Atticus was so old that nobody knew anything about it, and we'd find some like weird fiberglass pipe and be like,
what is this? We didn't even know that there was a water tank under the cabin sole for like a year and a half or something. Oh my, yeah. So no, they've already been a really awesome resource, and I've just had the opportunity to talk to them like once or twice. But yeah, what was I going to say here? Oh, I was going to say, with regard to a lot of these projects, the other thing that I learned from Atticus one, the big thing that I learned is to try to go cruising as soon as possible, because your concept of the projects that you should do when you first buy a boat are dramatically different than what you think you need to do after you've been using that boat. And so I really want to pretty much just do that hard top, because that's like a for sure thing. A lot of that too is because of the solar. Like we really need quite a bit of solar to keep up with editing and all of our computer work and everything. So we know for a fact we need that, and so while we're doing that, we might as well just go all out with it. But and then water maker, I want to do that for sure. The boat's got a lot of water tankage. I think it can take 150 gallons of water, and it's got like a good shower and everything, so it's going to be a whole new way of approaching fresh water for us. I mean, we're used to like splitting a liter water bottle to like shower, so I want to have like a good water maker that'll be able to keep up with that kind of use. But other than that, and like a couple other things, potentially replacing chain plates, we'll see. I really want to just kind of go cruising, get up to Maine, push the boat, test the boat, and then have a sense of what we need to do.
Yeah, even the access panels they're tempting to like do right away, because like the idea of just any time you need to go in there, it'd be nice to have them done, but we don't really need the access panels yet, so that'll be interesting to decide on.
Yeah, and in the same vein, a lot of people have been asking about lithium batteries. Daniel Oliver is asking, what about lithium batteries? And I mean, the short answer is I want lithium batteries. You know what I mean? I want them. Whether we're going to install them in the short term is a good question, because the boat's got AGMs, which to me is like the only real alternative to lithium right now. And they're not that old. And so kind of like what I was saying, I think we're going to use them, see how they work, see if capacity is a problem. Because once we get those solar panels, it could be that we just don't really need more capacity, and so we can just wait for these batteries to die and then upgrade.
The other thing that we could do is work with Nigel Calder's company. They do like solar. They've got that strong alternator that replaces the generator, right?
Oh yeah, Nigel Calder was talking. Yeah, well, he's got that integral system, which like before you guys look that up and see how much it costs, like I'm very aware it's very expensive. But I mean, he was suggesting even just high output alternators, period. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
But it would be nice to like be able to email Nigel Calder and like ask him his thoughts on it. He's such a nice guy. I was just blown away with how sweet he was.
Super cool dude. I mean, especially real quick, a lot of people just showed up wondering what boat we chose. We chose the Pacific Seacraft 40. All right. We got to like get a PS 40 dance.
Yeah.
And that's the drinking word. So go for it, guys. So the talking about the batteries. Oh, and well, Brad Scott was just saying that we're going to need to like cut those panels into the engine compartment before our shakedown cruise. And so sort of like, and I totally hear you, Brad, it's going to be a bummer. But I feel like with stuff like that, you can get by, you know what I mean? You can definitely get by. And it's the same with the batteries. Like even if they're not the greatest, we can get by for a little while. I just really want to cruise long enough to create a really rock solid priority list so that we can start to tackle like the most important thing and then work our way down, you know?
Another question along those lines, Jamie Charlo was asking about if we'll have a security system this time. And I definitely want stainless steel security bars.
Mostly so she can lock me out when I'm like out late having beers with friends or something.
Yeah, I'm like 12 o'clock, the bars are going in. Better find a place to sleep.
That's why I want the hardtop, like a really good Bimini, because I sleep in the cockpit like a couple times a year at least.
You've done it once.
Okay, so it happened one time, but still.
Thanks to Molly and John. They have a nice, comfortable couch.
Yeah. I mean, you guys out there might have that experience where you like have to sleep on the couch, you know? For me, it's like sleep in the cockpit, and so I definitely want a lot of cockpit protection.
I can't hear you. You want to come in the boat?
I literally
My hands are tied.
try to open the companionway sliding hatch, which is so ironic because I designed the system. Yeah. Like I designed the locking mechanism. And so for the first time, it was like 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or something. It wasn't that late. I did tell her I'd be home earlier than that. And I'm like trying to break into my own boat. I'm like, damn, Jordan, you're good. Like you just, this works really well.
So anyways, I would really like security bars. And then security bars for hatches as well. And we've got the pirate light system. Actually, it'll probably work a lot better on this boat.
Yeah, but that's another one of those things that like we can get by without it for a little while. Yeah. The security bars, I will say though, like that made our lives a lot better. Like not like because we stopped getting robbed, right? Like we've never been robbed. But we stopped worrying about it so much, and that was great. Like it's hard to explain how nice that is.
Yeah.
So we may prioritize that before we leave the States. Although that said, I mean, welding like that kind of welding, I feel like you can find pretty good welders abroad that are going to be cheaper than in the States.
Wait till we get to Panama, get it done with Kiwi Dave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Real quick couple of thank yous. Heidi and Franny, thank you so much. David Childress, thank you so much. Pete Bates, Jeffrey Miller, let me scroll up here. Ethan Stevenson, Bonnie Lynn, Jim Matthews, Marjorie Hale. Real quick, there's a lawyer in Sarasota named like Jeffrey Hale, and there's this big billboard.
He does like personal injury, or
I don't know, but he's like, "You're going to Hale," and so like every time I pass that sign, I'm like, "Yeah, let's go to Hale."
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Mark Villamere, thank you very much. Earl Cox, sorry, my thing is slow. Joseph Lee, Abdil Gonzalez, Jeremy Camel, Bob Marioni, want to help me a little bit?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, where are we?
Kevin Snelson.
Kevin Snelson. We got Joseph K. Richter, SV Tabula Rasa, James Tesh, Matthew Sciarota, Bonnie Lynn,
Again.
Stephen De Roche,
Nice.
SV Tabula Rasa, Ron Hall, Jeff Owens, Christine Rodway, Charles Young, Ron Saylor, Suresh, Bill O'Neill, Darla. Hey, Darla.
She has a question.
Oh.
Are you going to officially name the new boat Atticus II? Yeah.
Yes, we sure are. And in fact, it looks like there's a good chance we're going to have the hail port be Key West, Florida, which will be kind of cool.
And then Jeremy Camel was saying, give your boat to Sailing into Freedom. That's a really cool option. I don't know if they'd want it.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so I'm going to jump back into this. Okay. So a lot of people have been asking about the electronics on the Pacific Seacraft 40. And the electronics are in pretty good shape. Particularly, it's got a good, relatively new B&G autopilot, as well as a couple different little multi-purpose displays from B&G. It's got a Garmin radar and chart plotter, which are both from, I think, 2009, which we're going to find out tomorrow how well they work. 2009, I mean, that's the kind of thing where things have changed a lot since then, but there's a chance that they'll work okay.
Just going to interrupt real quick. We got some new people to the show, so we chose the Pacific Seacraft 40. Pacific Seacraft 40.
That is right.
Pacific Seacraft 40.
PS 40, and it's a drinking word.
That's what I'm saying.
Everyone who got here at the beginning of the live stream is now totally drunk. So thank you guys thanks for coming. We appreciate it. Yeah. Drive home. Don't drive home. Yeah. Walk home safely. Get an Uber.
Yeah.
But all right. So yeah, so beyond the radar and all that, now somebody was asking, are we going to upgrade the radar? I would love to upgrade to one of the new B&G. Like, those things are super, super cool. But that's another one of those things where it's like, maybe we'll upgrade it, but I really just want to try all the systems that are on the boat currently. Because I guess that's kind of what I learned from cruising on Atticus I, is that the things that you think you need to replace are often the things that never give you a problem. It's just mind-blowing. Like, you'll look at it and think, like, that thing's going to die any day now. And then 5 years later, it's still just like just chugging along.
Our VHF radio was like that.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a lot of things that... So we will give it all a shot and see how it runs.
Question from Blitz Wars says, will you have some kind of satellite internet? And then John Ross was asking, have you looked into Starlink for internet? And we haven't really done a lot of research into Starlink, but we'd definitely be interested. So if there's any of you out there who use it currently and travel abroad, please let us know. In our experience, sailing in the Western Caribbean, just getting SIM cards from the various countries we went to was really affordable and really high speed. So we're a little bit spoiled. I know that it's a lot harder to get good internet in like the South Pacific. So I'd be really curious if there's people out there who have good experiences with it.
But even that, I think, is changing. Like the pace at which cellular data is getting fast is incredible, like all around the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's not going to be a problem for us.
Yeah, and as far as satellite internet, last time I checked, which was like 6 years ago, it was just kind of beyond our price range to even consider that. I don't know if the technology has changed. I know SV Delos has like a badass satellite internet on their boat. That's a huge dome. I guess we don't have to worry about the size anymore. It definitely wouldn't have worked on Atticus, but maybe on Atticus too. I don't know. It's probably really expensive.
It's something that we definitely need to look into. The last time I looked up Starlink, it was long ago enough where it's definitely gotten a lot further. One Starlink, I'll put it this way: one Starlink is like a viable way for us to get internet. Then we'll probably start looking at adopting it. I'm seeing a lot of people like Gib is saying Starlink has a long way to go. A lot of people have been saying that it's just not, Isabelle Dutois and Texas Hayes. Isabelle, did I get your name right? If I did, wow, I'm like, that's awesome. Texas Hayes was saying Starlink isn't available yet, so we'll have to check it out and see where it's at. That said, oh my gosh, I keep doing this. There is going to start to be like, because we want to kind of start to collaborate with people on our videos. Like, you know, we've talked about having someone do like the color correcting because we just don't have the time. And if we could have somebody do that, the videos would look a lot prettier. And so there's ways that we could work with people on these episodes that would be really nice if we could upload all of the footage into the cloud. And that's kind of that next step. Because then you're talking like uploading 160 gigabytes of footage every week. That can start to take a long time. So that'll be where like the next step, once internet gets better, we can start looking into doing stuff like that.
Do you know where you ended the last thank you?
I clicked on the last one that I did.
Okay.
So it should be.
Couple of new thank yous. Thank you, Eric P. again. Thank you, Ronnie Marani. Thank you, Robert Pesh. Thank you, Lipham.
Oh, and real quick, Tim Leary is in the house. He's actually going to be our rigging surveyor on Friday.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining the live stream, Tim. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing you, man.
Yeah.
And you guys will all get to meet Tim. It'll be a part of our, I think, next episode. So anyway, go on.
And I don't know if Dave Caudill is watching tonight, but he's a viewer and he's going to be doing our survey. And he's been so nice. He's actually driving up from Florida, probably flying right now. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Tim Herzog, thank you very much. Daryl Wadesworth, Ben Speasons, Kenneth May, John Fisher, Tina Morrison, Russell, Robert Pesh again, Corky Corson, thank you. Also, Corky made a really amazing song that we have to publish soon, or like post it somewhere soon. We haven't, like, I think he sent it to us when we were in the middle of the Bulkhead and the Kickstarter campaign and forgot to post it, but we're going to. It's so good.
Yeah. All right, so let's see what we got here, guys. Go ahead.
I only have two more.
Okay.
Thank you, Gretchen Keeler and Jay Gutierrez.
Cool.
You guys are awesome.
Okay. Yeah, rock on. So then
Sorry. Gretchen has a question. She says, how about babies? Our kiddos in your timeline. Desiree, you will love the newborn phase. All cuddles in the V-birth. Excited for you guys. Thank you. Yeah, I'm not pregnant, but we are starting to try to have kids. We don't have health insurance currently, and we just found out. Yeah, we found out the hard way that there's like a waiting period for a lot of international health services where they will only cover pregnancy a year after you've joined. So that kind of puts a cog in the wrench.
Close enough.
Is that what you say?
Put the wrench in the whatever. You can put whatever you want wherever you want. If you know.
Yeah.
That's how you make babies, in fact.
Exactly.
Okay, moving on. Wow.
And thank you, Catherine Gardner.
Yeah. So anyway, we're just getting super, excited about this boat. I'm really nervous about tomorrow just because it's going to be a lot to do, what I mean, like look over all the systems. Basically, I mean, what's left to do is we take the boat out for a sail and just do like go over every single system on the boat. So we like put the anchor down, let the chain out, use the windlass, like use the autopilot, use the GPS and radar, and test the water system and everything. So we'll be knowing tomorrow more or less like if everything works, basically. And then after that, then it's just kind of off to the races, try and get the boat and get moving south. I just went to REI today to try to buy some more warm clothes and like some gloves and stuff because we realized that like it's in the cold when you're filming, your fingers will just literally freeze off. You know what I mean? Like I'm holding the camera and my fingers are just like in pain, and so we've had to kind of up our clothing, like our wardrobe, getting ready for cold weather sailing. As a couple people have mentioned, it's a lot warmer here like this week in Connecticut and in Branford than it has been the last couple weeks. And so we really lucked out with the weather. That said, it's still like, 40 degrees, whatnot. So it's definitely a lot colder than we're used to. That'll be very interesting.
Got another question from one of our patrons, Sylvia Hendricks, and she's saying, what are the important pieces of advice that you personally took away from your interviews with Ron Sailing and Delos about raising kids on board? And we had to cut a lot of their interview because our video was getting to be really long. I think initially it was like 2 hours long, and we were like, this needs to be shorter.
Yeah. I told Desiree, I was like, we should put like a warning sign at the beginning of the episode being like, warning, this is the most boring video we have ever made. And not that the people we interviewed was boring, but it's just a lot of talking.
Yeah, just sitting and talking. But one thing that we kind of cut from Ron's video, which I'm kind of bummed about, is just because we didn't have footage of it in time. But they installed a really cool pedestal in the cockpit, which is a bike seat, kind of like on a swivel chair. And I feel like that's a really cool and clever solution for having a baby securely in the cockpit, but kind of able to look around and see you at all times. And then we talked to Delos, and they were saying, well, I wish Sierra would just sit in a seat when we were underway, but she likes kind of walking around and being a part of the action. So I guess I learned, try to adapt, be really adaptable. I think Kaza was saying that you think you're really flexible when you're a cruiser, but then you become a parent on a boat, and then you have all these big plans for like, okay, this is where the baby chair is going to be, and then you put your baby in the baby chair, and she's like, get me out of here. I hate this thing. I'm never going to sit in this happily in my life. So you just have to be really flexible and adaptable. So that was a good lesson. Any other lessons that you learned from them that we weren't able to put in the video?
From our interviews in general?
Well, from Ran and Delos.
I learned to be really afraid of what our lives are going to become. Because it was especially Ran didn't have their baby in the video, but as you saw, Delos had Sierra in the video. And yeah, it's just not the idea of just having a kid. Like, having a kid, I understand it's going to change your life, but it's this idea of producing videos with a baby is going to be intense, because we're we have to do things like do narration or kind of express something, and if there's just a baby screaming in the background, it's gonna be interesting. I think there's gonna be, and I think Delos and Ran have both shown this, that it's gonna affect things negatively, and then it's gonna affect things positively. So it's more just like a shift than it is anything else. And so I'm looking forward to it. It's definitely more scary now than it was before, but it's at the same time we're just at that age where we got to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want to, so it's definitely time. And so it's just step into the unknown.
Yeah. Just try your hardest.
Just face the terror. Just face it.
Yeah. We are really lucky. We are really lucky though. Before the Vagabond, there weren't many channels about having a baby on board. And so now there's a lot of channels where people are raising their babies on board and not kind of stopping cruising. So that's really inspiring, actually, and it's nice that we can reach out to them and ask some questions.
Yeah, Jesse Adame Adams says narration during naps.
Yeah. And it'll be whisper narration.
Yeah. And then Time's Up says, run, dude. Rudolph Bruno Kleinert says, be very scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ward McIntyre says, don't do it. Kids are overrated. So yeah, it's definitely gonna be a change for us, but it's just something that I want to do, and I know it's something that Desiree wants to do.
Yeah, right? And a couple of people have asked us about what if biologically we're not able to have kids, and we're both open to adoption if it's possible, and trying other options. So yeah. Let's see. What?
Well, go ahead. Sorry.
Trevor Evans was asking, does Atticus II have heating and air conditioning? It does have heating, but it does not have air conditioning.
Yeah, it's got a diesel heater, an Espar diesel heater, which will be really cool. Like, that'll be fun to be. I mean, I know being in cold is something we're not used to, and so I'm like, it's kind of like having kids, right? Like, I know I don't know what to expect, anyway. But it is going to be fun to be in a place that's chilly and then to be warm inside. Like, that sounds really fun to me, to have like this little like safe haven.
It's really funny because the boatyard, I think, thinks we're just like complete idiots because we know nothing about the process of winterizing a boat and what you need to do if your boat's going to be splashed and the temperature drops below freezing. We're like, so do we just have the heater on? Do we leave it on when we leave the boat? Like, can we fill up our water tanks?
Yeah. Does the world end in the wintertime?
Yeah.
Like, what happens to boats here?
Yeah,
we're just so stupid when it comes to like boats in the winter, but we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
One thing that I really think that we ought to talk about, and first of all, a lot of people are on both sides of the fence about the whole kit thing, which is cool. I like that. You know, people saying like, go for it, it's great. People saying don't do it. And, you know, again, like just to kind of like, you know, put a pin in it, whatever you call it. Like, yeah, it's just, we've kind of, it's just like, you know, I don't know. I feel like I could continue to make excuses. I could continue to like justify not having kids forever. And it's just something that, like, if it's just an experience I want to have.
Yeah, and I think our personality types are such that we both, like right now, our boat and our YouTube channel is like our baby, and like everything revolves around it. And so I think it's going to be nice to kind of focus all of that love and energy and attention onto something that's like beautiful and, you know.
And to like have something that's more important than
work.
you.
Yeah, than you.
You know what I mean? Like, or you, or, you know, me. Like, I feel like I've been in situations a little bit like that in my life where I care about something so much that it's more important than I care about myself in a way. And like and that, it seems like, would be the ultimate version of that, you know. So I would like that experience to have that sort of like
selflessness.
So, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, to care about something that much. It seems like it's an important aspect of being human. So anyway, so moving on from the whole that thing, I did want to talk about, like, a lot of people have been asking why we're mostly considering canoe sterns. And I think it's an important thing to just mention that we're not, like, super into canoe sterns.
Yeah.
It just sort of happened that all the boats, once we added up like our parameters, you know, whether it be the age, the cost, its sailing performance ability, the interior, once we really filtered out all the boats and only looked at boats that would work with everything that we want and need, the majority of them were canoe sterns.
Yeah, and that makes sense too, because the year that we were looking at, that during that time, about 20 years ago, that was the fad. Like, for offshore boats, they all had canoe sterns.
Not all, but a lot of them.
Yeah, with the exception of the Naiad. If we had found a Naiad in the United States, that would have been up there with the Valiant 42, and that does have a swim platform, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, although I will say I agree with John Kretschmer when talking about center cockpits, that I do think, and this is just my opinion, that center cockpits below like 45 feet feel a little bit cramped compared to their aft cockpit versions. Now, you do get a whole nother like separate cabin, which is really nice, but you pay for it a little bit because it's just, everything feels a little bit smaller. And so in a lot of ways, that's why we weren't looking at too many center cockpit boats. There are a lot of boats that aren't canoe sterns that would work for us, like, you know, the Passport 40 comes to mind, but the Passport 40 is a perfect example because those are all older than we were looking for. And not only that, but we, even just looking at the listings, all the Passport 40s I could see like showed signs that they were not quite in the condition that we were looking for. And so and that's just been the story with every transomed boat that we looked at, like non-canoe stern boat. And so were we able to be in the market for another year or 2 years, then maybe a boat with all of our parameters, with an actual transom, with a wider stern, maybe a boat like that would have popped up on the market. But just right now, given what we were looking for, there really just weren't any. So that's that. We're not like canoe stern crazy. I do think they're beautiful. Like looking at the Pacific Seacraft 40 Splash this morning.
Sure.
I mean, you look at that thing and it's just so elegant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has this. It's like, you know, the boat is really strong, but you look at the lines and it looks like almost graceful. You know what I mean? Or fragile almost.
Yeah. Although, yeah, the canoe stern, like the Pacific Seacraft 40 would be like the perfect boat if that aft cabin were a little bit more beefy on the bottom. You know?
Yeah, that's like the main thing that it loses is that quarter berth cabin kind of sacrifices a lot. Like my folks, I don't know, like my dad is as tall as I am. He's a big guy, or he's taller than I am. I don't know if my dad and my mom would fit well in the quarter berth. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like the main bummer. Yeah. I don't even think you and I would enjoy sleeping together in that cabin. I
don't know.
We'd have to give it a shot. Yeah. So, but you get the point. Yeah. Like it's small for two people.
Yeah. Stacy DePaolo was asking, will you be taking Little Shit 2 or aka Deuce with you since you just purchased her? And yes, we're gonna have to, once we get down to Panama, figure out how to ship Little Shit / the Deuce, and we haven't like figured out what to call her. I still call her Little Shit 2.
I blame Desiree for that entirely. I was like, okay, let's call it the Deuce. She's like, I can't do it.
I can't say it.
I'm like, okay, let's call it Little Shit 2. And she's like, no,
Little Shit 2 is good.
Yeah?
Are we down? Little Shit 2? Shake on it.
Okay, fine.
Yay!
Yeah, fine. Little Shit 2.
Atticus 2, Little Shit 2.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it works great. Okay, so real quick, I did want to just... where is it? Oh, CNC says, PS40. I'm so drunk right now.
Pacific Seacraft 40.
You can do it, CNC. Keep going. Keep going.
John Kirkpatrick asks, can I buy your old boat? And we are about... like probably 2 weeks away from getting started on like the process of selling Atticus. So if you'd like more information, just shoot me an email at iwantatticus@gmail.com and I'll get back to you in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, and if you guys know anybody, because to me Atticus 1 would make a great boat for the right person. And to me that profile is, you know, somebody who's like doesn't have a whole lot of money, would like to start a YouTube channel, because I mean it's kind of like you're well positioned because we kind of give you a boost, but also I mean the Atticus 1 comes with a lot of good stuff. Like it's got the furler, it's got the new sails,
the new boom,
it's got the new mizzen boom, it's
brand new refrigerator.
Yeah, it's just got a lot of good
water
stuff.
Maker.
It's got a really good head start. So for someone who is willing to put like, you know, a couple of months of work into the boat, because the bulkhead is the main issue, but the boat could use some loving anyway.
Yeah. And I guess it depends on your risk level. You know, like some people might feel more comfortable sailing it with the bulkhead in that condition.
Yeah. So the point being that if you guys know, or if this matches you, like someone who's like a little bit younger, willing to like do some crappy kind of hard work for a couple months in Panama, and then have a boat that's pretty well outfitted for cruising, definitely tell them to shoot us an email at iwantatticus@gmail.com. Cool.
And then let's see. Brad Scott was saying, "How's the search for the Guatemalan Cowboy Hat 2 coming? Drunken live streams won't be the same without it."
I know, no kidding. I'm always like on the lookout. Haven't found anything yet.
Yeah. Oh, you did.
It might have to be like some sort of like Tongan war hat or something. You know what I mean?
You have that hat that Chad Towner gave you.
Yeah, I do.
What is it called?
I can't get that.
No.
It says no cerveza, no trabajo. no beer, no work. Okay, cool. So let's see, what else do we have here?
This is a good point. Ute K says, haha, someone just made a great comment on the name Little Shit. You don't want your kids saying that, do you? Yeah, and that's tough because I think we're like Jordan curses a lot, and we met a couple who they also are comfortable with cursing around their kids, but their kids luckily don't curse that much. So I don't know how they accomplished that. But like that would be nice if we could continue saying things like, I don't know.
Me, okay, so where I'm at with that is shit to me is not a swear word. Like I feel like,
think of like the cutest little kid being like little shit. I mean,
that's hilarious.
That sounds really cute, actually.
It sounds like the cutest thing ever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. Yeah. But I mean, I can appreciate that not everyone feels the way I do.
Yeah.
I totally get it.
That's why moving on to Deuce, it kind of... Deuce.
Anyway, yeah. That's going to be a good question, how much we swear around the kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how I got to kind of think about that. I'm a sailor. Sailors are allowed to swear, right? I was told that at a young age. That's like half the reason I became a sailor.
And then Brad Scott was saying, when is the next patron cocktail board meeting? That is a good question. Maybe after we move on to Atticus, we can have a patron-only live stream. That'd be fun, on Atticus too.
Yeah. In fact, we're getting here towards the end of the show, and we had a couple of patron questions that we were going to
I've actually been going through them.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
We actually answered a lot of them.
Cool.
Dale Taylor was asking, how many sailboats did you look at in person that you didn't review in a video?
Yeah, it was, I mean, really, none?
No, at least one.
At least one? Not many. We didn't look at many boats that we didn't do videos on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that had a lot to do with the fact that we had really, in a lot of ways, we had just really narrowed down our search in the research phase quite a bit. And that was something that like John Kretschmer and Bernie, our broker, were they were super helpful with that. Because we could really just say like, here's what we are looking for. What do you think of this boat? And they'd be like, no, I wouldn't worry about it. And so because of that, we were able to kind of like just look at boats that we were seriously considering.
This is a great question from Matt Miller. He says, question, going back to the beginning, knowing what you know now, if Atticus had been free, would you still have taken her or looked for something that needed much less work? And I guess I would say for us at the time, it would have been smarter for us to use the money that we had to buy a boat that was more ready to sail. And so what we did was spend $5,000 on Atticus, which should have been free, really, based on all the issues Atticus had. And we had money, like we put a brand new engine on it, we re-rigged it completely, we put brand new sails on it, redid the non-skid, re-cored the deck, put brand new everything on Atticus, and
put new water tanks in. The boat didn't even have water tanks. That's actually because there's a lot of projects that we just didn't capture in the videos, you know, because we were just too busy doing them. And so imagine that, like a boat that just has zero water system whatsoever. You know? And
so I would say like monetarily or financially it wasn't the best option for us, but emotionally and I guess I would say we took what we could from Atticus and really learned a lot, and we were able to make money later on by doing boat work, and then we were a lot more comfortable with Atticus whenever something went wrong. So it's hard to say. Like I can definitely say it would have been smarter to just save our money and buy a boat that was more ready. But
what Ed Burke says, we learned a lot from Atticus.
Yeah.
And we've said this before, like it's how do you how do you incorporate that into your calculus?
And also I would say like we really became better people, I'd say, with all facing these like constant challenges and having to communicate and work together and really prioritize where to put our time and money. And so it really, Atticus taught us how to really not suck at life completely. So, and it made our relationship stronger. It made us learn that we probably need a lot less than we think we do in general. Here we are moving on to a 40-foot boat, though.
Yeah, but even that, like a lot of people have been telling. And now I know a lot of people feel that the 40-foot boat is really big, and in a lot of ways it is. But we get a lot of comments of people saying that boat is too small to raise kids on. And so the point is that the jury's still out on exactly how big that boat is compared to like raising kids on. So anyway, I completely agree with what you're saying though, that like I almost say, because a lot of times like when people are on a tight budget and they want to start getting into cruising and they ask for advice, I feel like the best advice I can give is, well, I basically just say like, try hard, don't give up, and good luck, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's just no way you're going to do it really well.
Yeah.
There's too much to know. And no matter what advice we give, you're probably going to experience a totally different set of circumstances anyway.
Yeah, because I actually remember reading a couple of articles of people who had done the whole refit thing, and they're like, I'd never do that again. Like, you're not saving any time, you're not saving any money. And I was like, we can do it, you know? So it's hard to just understand it till you've been through it and kind of reap the benefits of being through it.
Yeah,
so
totally.
It's a tough question.
And we got a couple people with similar comments, like Rod Brandon saying, if you hadn't purchased Atticus and did the things you did, we likely wouldn't be here tonight.
Yeah.
And Sailing Someday says, Atticus built your channel.
Yeah.
And like, I agree with that. I think what we're talking about though, just to make sure we're clear, is that, you know, we paid $5,000 for a boat that we probably overpaid, in the sense that like it just needed too much work to be able to function at all as a sailboat. And realistically, like 30-foot boats that are like old but like you can sail them and they're safe, I mean, you can find them for like 30 grand, 25 grand, yeah, even less, I feel like, if they're old enough. And so like we just didn't do it right. We just didn't do it very smart.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like, oh, we should have just like bought a big, nice, expensive boat in the beginning. No, we just maybe should have put a little bit more money together, like a little bit, and then like bought a little bit of like a boat that's a little bit more ready to go.
The sad thing is, like, we had the money, we just decided to like put it in projects, which was kind of silly. But
we didn't have much. We had
like exactly.
We had enough to buy a boat that was more ready to go. For sure. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I mean, again, it's just like you live and you learn.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot. I mean, think about how much we learned from Atticus, you know? Like,
and also, like you were saying earlier about the idea of like caring so much about something. I think because Atticus was like falling apart and we just had this like intense like love for Atticus and like hope to just like keep going and keep pushing and like never give up. That was something that, you know, that's hard to, like, adversity breeds character basically. And so I think that's hard to overlook. There's a line in that book about that hitchhiker who gets lost in Alaska on the road, or anyway, he was saying life was more interesting and I made more connections when I was broke than when I had money in my pocket. And I can see how that's true, you know, like when you're really forced to be creative and to put everything you have into something, and
to be open to like any opportunity too. You know what I mean? Like you end up doing fiberglass work in Mexico or something, you know? And
yelling at your husband for taking like more than a liter of water from in his shower that day. Yeah. So anyway, I think like we I want to not come across as like not being really grateful and fond of the way things went for us. Like I feel like they went really well. But I think it's always useful to like identify where you could have done things better, just so you can learn, you know what I mean, and do better in the future. So cool. Wait, a couple of thank yous. Michael and Helene Davis, Matthew Sciarota, thank you so much. Thank you, Ron Saylor. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Ben
Spiezens.
Gosh, I'm so bad at that. Thank you, William Sullivan. He's saying if we end up going through Long Island, he could meet up with us. That'd be really cool. He's got an Allied C-130. How cool. We can compare boat speeds.
A lot of people are helping you out on this one. It was Into the Wild.
Into the Wild. There we go.
Nice, guys.
I was going to say, like,
nice.
Into the Night. Thank you, Blakely G. Thank you, Tor Fredericks. What a cool name, Tor. Thank you, Freshly J, or Freshy. Thank you, Rod Brandon, Mark Macias, Lon Pribble, Bill Badger, Robert Lemaire, Jeremy Adams, Old Sundance, Cousin Rick H14. You want to help me out here? Thank you, Brad Scott.
Charles Young, Peter Blackwell, Samuel Lyles, and Bigfoot Van Life. Woo. And they say, we're excited for you guys. We are new to having a YouTube channel about our converted van called Bigfoot. Well, cool. Rock on. Hopefully we get to see you guys down the road in Bigfoot one of these days.
Awesome.
All right. So, yeah, guys, that was really fun. And first of all, before we wrap up here, there's just a lot of people were saying just so much, like, nice and awesome stuff, just talking about, like, how that's how life works, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you just have to learn from your mistakes. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something so important in that, though, because while we were in it, mm-hmm. I don't think a day went by that I didn't think that we were just completely failing for a lot of the whole experience of refitting Atticus and sailing. We didn't sail very far. The boat never really got, like, finished, you know what I mean? Like, we never even, like, made the interior very nice, you know? And, like, I would read articles and stuff, particularly articles back then, like, about, like, how amazing everyone else's boats were. And I just really got down on myself. And I think that the main lesson I learned from that was it's okay to not do things perfectly. You know what I mean? Like, no one does things perfectly. No one actually does. And if it appears like they do, they're just making it look that way. You know, it's just like, try your hardest, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the number one lesson that we got from Atticus, or that I did, was just try your hardest, and then leave it on the field, and then let it go. You know what I mean? And stop getting down on yourself. So anyway, thank you guys for following this whole journey. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy part, is like, we kept going, and then here we are, and like, we get to share it with all you guys, and you guys have been so encouraging and so supportive. So thank you.
Yeah,
like, really.
Speaking of that, we wanted to give a special thank you to our patrons who've been with us, a lot of you guys, from the beginning, and we just can't believe you're so awesome. And thank you so much for all of your advice on the side on our Facebook group and showing us boats that you thought we should have been looking at. It was really, really helpful, and just so nice having you guys support us, and also having you guys root for us on our Kickstarter. That was so incredible. And so, speaking of the Kickstarter campaign, if you donated to making Atticus II possible through our Kickstarter Kickstarter campaign, thank you so much.
Yeah, you guys rock.
Yeah, you
really guys totally rock.
Would not be here tonight if it weren't for you guys. So thank you so much. Thank you also to Dave, our moderator, who's been with us since our second live stream.
Thanks, Dave.
And again, he's coming to us from Ireland, so it's really late where he is now. So thank you so much for always making time for us. We really, really appreciate it. And for keeping us humble. Dave will usually give me some notes on the side after our live stream, and I'll be like, you know what, Dave? I like your honesty. Thank you also to Tim Leary of Yacht Rigging Services, who's driving down from Rhode Island to help us with our rig survey, and then Dave Caudle from Distinguished Marine Services, who is driving from Florida to help us with our survey tomorrow.
Yeah, and you guys will get to meet them in an upcoming episode.
Yeah.
So, so guys, thank you so much. Thanks for. I mean, I'm just reading all these comments. There's just too much love to even like mention all of it. So thank you so much for your comments. Thank you so much for your support, guys. And this was a blast. We'll do it again probably in like another month or so. And other than that, guys, thank you so much. And then, real quick, one last, Dennis McMahon. Thank you very much.
Wow,
we really appreciate it. This is very generous. Okay, guys. Well, that was a blast.
Wait, let me make sure I didn't miss any more thank yous. Oh, my tab is gone. Next, Travis Mayo, Paul Brisden. Thank you